It is indeed an absolute pleasure, Honourable Minister, to introduce and welcome you to the podium. Our Minister of Local Cooperative Governance and Traditional Affairs nationally, Dr. Nkosazana Dlamini-Zuma, who knows all about sustainable development, the African agenda, and local government. May we rise and welcome the Honourable Minister, a truly empowered woman. Welcome, Minister.
Thank you very much. Well, let me first greet the organizers of this meeting. Program director, he's disappeared. The representative of the eThekwini, Salga chair, and the Ms. Nele. All the mayors who are here, councillors, chairpersons of portfolio committees, senior municipal officials, and all the participants. Let me thank you for inviting me to this milestone gathering. I'm truly honored to join you on the 5th annual National Local Government Asset Management Indaba. It is evident that this is an important platform that brings together professionals, key role players, and game changers in the local government space to exchange ideas on how best to optimize the management of municipal assets. Of course, this takes place after the local government summit, which had the theme of building a capable, ethical, and developmental state. And the discussions that emanated from that two-day summit highlighted the need for more improved management of municipal assets, particularly proper operations and maintenance to ensure the continuity of service delivery. We've seen over time that the poor management of assets leads to service delivery backlogs. It is also encouraging that professional associations such as the Center for Municipal Assets Management was able to sustain this annual gathering, working very closely with SALGA and other institutions for the last 5 years. We appreciate your capacity building initiatives through the workshops and materials you have produced over the years. Maybe let me just engage a bit on the philosophical approach to assets that the SALGA chair challenged us to. Indeed, I agree with you that assets go beyond just what we are talking about in terms of local government. In fact, if you take Africa as a whole, we talk of the African paradox. And the African paradox is that Africa is rich because it has all those assets and inheritance, whether it's land, whether it's minerals, whether it's forests, rivers, but more importantly, as the last speaker said, its most precious resource, the people. It's a rich continent, but with poor Africans. That's the paradox of Africa. And it's a paradox of South Africa as well. But if we look at the assets, the most important asset on which every other asset rests is the land. Doesn't matter what you think of, whether it's a computer, it's sitting on a desk that's sitting on land. Whether it's a road, it's rail, it's pipes, it's buildings, it's whatever, all the assets that we have rest on the most important asset, which is land. And that's probably part of the paradox of South Africa, where you have rich South Africa with poor South Africans. So I thought I should just talk to that, but also the most important resource that we have, that we must invest in, and that's why I appreciate the capacity building and the programs that you have. Our most precious resource is the people. And if we don't invest in the people, and if we don't do everything to ensure that they are resilient in every aspect and their properties are sustainable, then we will be in trouble. So I agree with that. But also, due to historic background that created a huge inequality in provision of services, we see that there has to be tough decisions and tough choices. So at the beginning of the democratic dispensation, the tough choices were, do we expand the services or through new infrastructure, or do we just put more resources on maintenance of existing infrastructure? And it is important to know that negating the infrastructure extension to household with no access to services is also no option. So I don't think we have choices, we have to do both. We've seen that not investing enough in the maintenance of existing infrastructure will also limit the lifespan of the infrastructure and in a way also limit the service to the population and demand more immature investment, because that infrastructure would not have lasted for the time that it was expected to last. So the asset management processes offer a practical and objective way to resolve this dilemma. In addition, asset management processes are an embodiment of various municipal functions, making it the central theme for the mandate execution of municipalities. Perhaps one glaring oversight that has been absent is the absence of funding to actually maintain infrastructure in the municipal infraspace. And also because we have not emphasized the maintenance in the auditing, everyone is happy if the infrastructure is present. Whether it works or not, doesn't matter, you'll get a clean audit if it's there and the auditors can find it. But the service delivery may be suffering in the process. We're just chatting with the representative, the mayor, for this period, because he's representing the mayor. He was telling me about a pipe somewhere in Mlazi, water pipe, that is there. So if you audit, it's there. But it was broken, so the water has to be closed every evening. And nobody really looks at that. You can get a clean audit, but the water is not coming out in the evenings. So maybe we should also relook and rethink at how we do the auditing. Yes, the assets must be there, but they must also perform the function they were bought to or built to perform and render the services they were supposed to render. So, national and provincial governments, of course, receive 45 and 44% of the equitable share, respectively. And this has not helped us enough to change the situation at local government. We must still boldly confront the assumption we made about local government's ability to generate its own revenue. Maybe eThekwini can and a few big cities, but most of the rural municipalities are not able to generate their own revenue. So this platform must start asking those uncomfortable questions and confronting those uncomfortable. Local government gets 9 to 10% of the revenue, but that's where the universe of government is. And I think that must change. So I've considered this debate within the asset management fraternity about the difference between asset management and asset accounting. Accountants are doing asset accounting and calling it asset management, which is not quite. This has made engineers and other infrastructure units in municipalities to assume that asset management is a responsibility of accountants only, which is not true. So the Center for Municipal Asset Management's close relationship with the Durban University of Technology, the Municipal Infrastructure Agency, MISA, the University of Cape Town, gives us hope that we will bridge the knowledge gap between engineering units and finance officials in municipalities. In the same vein of partnerships, MISA has partnered with SALGA, UCT, and Engineering Without Borders. South Africa, EWBSA, to develop a program called Data for Municipal Infrastructure Assets. This program recruits engineering students to compile useful data and infrastructure assets. This gives students on-the-job training and compulsory vocational work for their engineering studies. They collect, verify, analyze, and create asset knowledge information which serves as a baseline for asset care. It is partnerships like these that can cut across the traditional understanding of public service that will enable us to have 360-degree view of our problems and provide evidence-based solutions and interventions. Further, the Treasury guidelines give municipalities a target to spend 8% of the annual budget allocation on repairs and maintenance of infrastructure assets. And as of 30 June 2022, the national expenditure average is below 5% by all municipalities. This demonstrates that we are not yet where we need to be in terms of expenditure on asset management. Dear participants, our goal must not just be achieving expenditure targets. It must also be about getting value for money in our operations. We cannot be outsourcing everything when we have so many unemployed youths that can be organized into cooperatives, assist in cleaning streets, doing basic plumbing, routine sewer pipe cleaning, and many other activities. We're getting into summer and the rains are starting. Are we sure that our infrastructure can withstand the rains that are coming? Because part of the severity of the floods was also the state of our stormwater drainage, and so on. So can we sit here and say if a big amount of rain were to come, our stormwater drainage would be up to the task? I don't know. Maybe we are. Municipal assets such as roads, boreholes, dams, bridges, and water treatment works, amongst others, are beyond just assets, but they are enablers of access to basic services. Therefore, a hindrance to their functioning results in the infringement of basic human rights of the citizens. It is therefore important that municipalities, through organized leadership, must ensure that there is a full-time oversight role administered for the state of municipal assets. Furthermore, the advancement of monitoring and evaluation must be applied. The provinces of KwaZulu-Natal, Eastern Cape, will see the development of the new African coastal city known as the Eastern Seaboard Development, which is a flagship program of the district development model. The Eastern Seaboard Development is a bold and multifaceted vision to develop new smart city and to bring new development across KwaZulu-Natal and Eastern Cape. It is a polycentric development with many developmental nodes based on the economic anchors and characteristics of each district. The objective is to unlock the economic potential across the 4 districts, municipalities, Ugu, Herikwala, Oliver Regional Tambo, and Alfred Nzo District. Since the launch last year, many plans and studies have been undertaken and clear vision of the nature of the development has been formulated. While many other studies and research are underway, it has been resolved that physical work should commence soon. Through the Municipal Infrastructure Support Agency, MISA, Department of COGTA has mounted a multi-sectoral government structure. The structure involves more than 10 national and provincial departments, parastatals, and representatives from 17 local municipalities within the 4 districts. Extensive stakeholder consultations with a wide spectrum of social partners are underway. What began as a dream is surely becoming a comprehensive plan that's about to be ready for implementation. A 21 municipal authority within the region have adopted the development initiative through council endorsement. Provincial governments of KwaZulu-Natal and Eastern Cape have formally endorsed the development through executive council resolutions, and the National Department of Agriculture, Land Reform and Rural Development has gazetted the jurisdictional area of the 4 districts as a unitary region for development. With researched evidence and benchmarking with similar developmental initiatives from across the world, it became obvious that a successful modern city building project also requires a skilled workforce with a prerequisite depth and breadth of skills associated with building a smart city. The Eastern Seaboard has the largest brain drain of all regions in the country. The region also lacks a critical mass of some of the basic and fundamental skills required to support a thriving economy. Majority of the adult population from these regions migrate out of the district because there's no economic development. They migrate to Johannesburg, to eThekwini and many Cape Town with the hope of finding green pastures, but they don't. They end up swelling the ranks of the urban poor in those areas. So it's important that we develop those areas, and the choice to pilot this in those areas is because 3 of those districts are amongst the 10 poorest districts in the country. And 8 of the poorest districts in the country are in KZN and Eastern Cape. So that's what informed the choice of that. We're calling a skills summit on the 8th of December to convene all the social partners from the sectors with a role in the skills development. The summit will ensure alignment with regional and national priorities in the skills development. It will delineate roles and functions across the partners to identify gaps and opportunities that might be exploited to mount an intensive training program. Another key issue that we need to face head-on is the unfortunate impact of unprecedented climate change, which are unfolding right in front of our eyes. And I think the previous speaker has said a lot on that. The recent floods in KwaZulu-Natal are an example of the challenge that were brought by challenges of climate change. And these events must prompt us to think differently with infrastructure development and do beyond the industry norms to lessen the burden on communities. We need to build infrastructure which will withstand the increasingly harsh elements as we build towards the future. Most importantly, communities need to be part of the asset management value by being part of safeguarding as well as maintaining assets. Municipalities should make it their business to create awareness and educating the public about the importance of jealously guarding infrastructure, reporting any defects, and even fixing and repairing some of the infrastructure. I know this gathering is about asset management, but we must never lose the wider context of skills development and poverty eradication. Let us be innovative in linking our activities and municipalities to move pressing local challenges of poverty and unemployment and inequality. We need to promote job creation, empowerment of youth and women through asset management initiatives as part of local economic development. The Department of COGTA has undertaken to restructure the Community Works Program for greater impact and relevance. You should tell us after this, Indaba, how can the management of assets be assisted through a national program that is also about eradicating poverty? So let's see how we can work together. How can our solutions incorporate skills training, even for semi-literate, and I'm leaving you with that challenge to engage with each other on how this asset management drive can be used to address the important national imperative of tackling the triple challenges of poverty, unemployment, and inequality. Program Director, this Indaba should make us think differently as leaders in the local space. We should awaken to the idea of the non-transferability of the accountability that lies on shoulder in respect to ensuring efficient, effective, and affordable service provision. These discussions, which will be taking place here over the next 2 days, can assist government pave a way forward and avoiding repeating previous mistakes as we have started rolling up our sleeves in working towards the city that we want. I wish you well in your deliberations, and I look forward to the resolutions, and I take seriously what you said, that you are spearheading, we are supporting. So we would like to get the results from the spearheading to the supporting and see how the two can come together. I thank you, Ngiyabonga.